What's up, Upstanders? Dr. O here. And so I saw a recent video of comedian Bill Burr, who really has a lot of great takes on things going on in the world today. I don't watch a lot of his stuff, but some of the things I've heard, I've come to appreciate. It's good to see when you have comedians that have actual forms of intellect, you know? But I saw a video where somebody was asking him to clarify his comments about Mangione, the man who shot the United Health CEO. And they asked him to clarify his comments. Now, I don't know what he said, so it's not relevant to this discussion, but he basically said, I said what I said, and they went back and forth. And he said to the reporter, it's like, why are you asking me? Like, why? I'm just a comedian. And she was like, yeah, but a lot of people get their information, from comics and all this other stuff. And he's like, that's the problem. He was like, it took me 3 years to finish a year of high school without having to go to summer school. He's like, I am not that dude. Y'all should be doing your job as journalists. You should be doing investigating. Y'all should be asking real questions and not looking to him and other people like him for the answers to everything. And I really appreciated that, because really at the end of the day, he was chastising journalists for their idea of, we need to be objective, as opposed to like really laying down the facts on issues. And the loss of fact-based journalism in our society is part of the reason why we are where we are today. A lot of journalists and so-called journalists and hosts of shows, they don't ask follow-up questions. They just want access. They want to be able to get the guy, the president, the senator, the CEO on their show so they can get those clicks. But they'll let them say pretty much anything they want, stuff that they know is false, but let them get away with it because maybe they only got like a 90-minute segment or whatever. And it's really problematic. The fact of the matter is, what I took from Bill Burr is something that I've been saying all along. These celebrities, these entertainers are not our leaders. Now, there are clearly people out there in the entertainment space who are actively involved as leaders in what they do. There are people out there who are mimicking the great work of, or attempting to, honor the great work of, Harry Belafonte. But when I look at somebody like the late Harry Belafonte, to me, he was an activist first and an entertainer second. But that's a conversation for another day. It could be semantics. But there are people out there who are engaged in stuff. But some of these other guys, just because they, when I think of somebody like, Adele Hughley, for example. Yeah, people know him as a comedian, but we see that he's an intellectual. And he actually uses his voice to speak in political spaces and to talk about political things and bases stuff in history. He's clearly well-read, clearly knows what he's talking about, right? So he has no problem talking to people about these issues. But just because comedians may joke about politics, or somebody like a Jon Stewart, clearly somebody who's an intellectual, but just because some, comedians may joke about politics, it doesn't make them the people whose opinions should be sought out. And just because they, are famous and popular, it doesn't mean that journalists should be trying to crowd around them every single day to get their opinions when there are real intellectuals, real experts, real people who do this work. And so again, I haven't watched like a Bill Burr stand-up comedy like many people who don't know him. I've seen snippets of things here and there. So, I'm not speaking of him as like, the guy or anything like that in terms of like, that's my dude, because I don't know enough about him. But what I've seen, he has some great takes on things that are going on in society, which I appreciate. I don't know what he said about Mangione, but the greater point is like, why are these journalists, why are these news outlets gravitating to people with no real education on the issues of the day and propping them up as the Joe Rogans of the world, and propping them up as the people that people need to talk to and that people want to hear? That's how we got Trump as president, because he wasn't. People looked at him. I think people looked at him more of an entertainer than they did a businessman. And some people say, yeah, we need a businessman as a president the first time around. Some people said it again, but it was really his time with The Apprentice that shot him to the national stage. And it's that same conversation that's having people talk about Stephen A. Smith as a possible presidential candidate. And it's that same conversation that's going to have some people talking about Bill Burr as a potential presidential candidate. It all needs to stop. It all needs to stop. And so I'm hoping that when I see some of the hope that somebody like a Cory Booker brought, to people, that people can start looking at real leadership, real intellectual people, real people who actually do the work in the spaces that these journalists are asking questions about, so we can kind of make it cool to be smart again. Well, I don't know if it was ever cool to be smart, but maybe we can make it cool to be smart, or at the basic level, just have respect for real intellect. I hope y'all are part of that call as well. Let's make that happen. Peace.